Hey everybody, Paul Trogdon with Sweet T Realty here, and today we're going to be talking about Southport, which is where we're actually at right now. All right, so let's go ahead and go back. Southport actually started with Native Americans living here. Spanish came in, and let's actually move to the English. Now, we're going to put a story together of the Trods and Southport and talk about how they've grown together. All right, so what does that actually look like? Well, let me tell you about that. Southport actually started as Smithville, which got its name from one of the founders of the town, Mr. Smith, who actually became the governor of North Carolina at one point. And Smithville was actually the county seat of Brunswick County for a while. Now, let's go ahead and move to the point of the Revolutionary War. And let's get back to that family I was talking about, the Trods. So there was Johnny. Just like everybody else, he did not like taxation without representation. So he decided to go ahead and join the war effort from the colonies to fight the British. Now, towards the end of the war, unfortunately, Johnny got hit in the leg. He survived, but whenever he moved back to Smithville, he was ready to start a family. So let's fast forward from the Revolutionary War to 1795. Now, we're celebrating the independence, okay, from the war standpoint and whatnot, and Johnny is back home. He is wanting to start a family. Now, what was really neat is at this standpoint, what was happening was ships would actually dock and be anchored in the harbor, and that's how the celebration even started here in Southport. Now, one of the other nice things about that is there were ladies in white who actually marched these very streets right here in Southport. And we can actually, from today's parades that we have with our 4th of July celebrations and everything, guess what? We can go all the way back to that. Now, on that faithful July 4th, where the ladies in white were marching along, one of the nice things that happened was Johnny saw Claire. Now, Claire, he had known most of his life, and there she was, as patriotic as can be, celebrating the freedom that was going on with everybody here in the Southport area. Well, Johnny and Claire became a thing, and they ended up getting married. Very happy together, and that's how the Trod family got started here in Southport. So now let's go ahead and fast forward with the Trod family to the Civil War time frame. Now, Smithville helped out with Fort Anderson and Fort Fisher, which was really nice of them. Now we have Jonathan, the husband, great-great-great-grandson of Johnny and Claire that we were just discussing. He had 2 boys. Every son, firstborn son, was named John, and he also had a second son, Jake. John and Jake, even though the family never owned slaves or anything along those lines, they just didn't like what the North was saying, and they felt like their livelihood was being stomped on, basically. So what they ended up doing was they ended up going to war with the North. Now, unfortunately, John Jr., he died. Jake comes home, and he decides that he's going to live his life all the way out. Now, at this point, what was also happening from the Civil War was Smithville decided that they wanted to be a metropolis at that time, like Wilmington, and they wanted to become a port city to rival Wilmington. They wanted to bring in railroads, they wanted to have ships come here, and being closer to the mouth of the Cape Fear River, they figured that they could take care of that. At that point, that's where the name Southport was born. Now, being that Southport is still a nice small town feel, obviously it never became that metropolis that Wilmington has become to a certain degree, depending on how you want to look at things. But what you do find is that Jack ended up working with the port stuff as a fisherman and taking care of his family that way. Now, we're going to fast forward a little bit more to the 1960s. And let's really get into the fact of celebrating July 4th and what Southport is known worldwide literally worldwide for, because we have 40 to 50,000 people that come every single year to celebrate July 4th in this small town. Now here we are in the mid 1960s. Unfortunately, everything that happened with JFK, the country somewhat rallied and patriotism had come back. And what we were seeing from there was the factor of people were wanting to celebrate, and you had fireworks. Now, here's the really nice thing. What we were starting to see here in Southport was you were starting to see people do arts and crafts shows and a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So they were bringing everything together. And one of the most fun things that we enjoy every single year is the parade. That's when the official parade started in the mid 60s. Today, what we actually see is stuff along the lines of the Shriners, clowns, fire trucks, over 100 different people coming through. And then some of my favorite that I grew up with was the marching band. That's one of the cool things about what's going on here in Southport. Present day celebrations here in Southport that stems all the way back, and the Trod family that actually started hosting the parades and putting everything together for the 4th of July festival. What we see today now is basically a whole week of celebration. We see all kinds of stuff. We see an arts festival. We see, well, I don't do it, but they do a running thing over in the Oak Island area. They do all kinds of wonderful things. So with that said, the parade is on July 4th, 11 a.m. And every July 4th at 9 p.m., you have the wonderful, beautiful fireworks that happens out over the water. Now, here's the most cool thing that happens with everything that I want to tell you about. Whether you're visiting for the July 4th with the 40 to 50,000 people, whether you're down visiting Oak Island for a week long at the beach and coming over to enjoy the downtown here at Southport, or guess what? You might be looking to move here to Southport. With the information that I gave and the history, the family, I'll be honest, was fictional. But I wanted to show you that the small town feel here, there are families that are just like that, that's been here from the beginning. From Smithville to Southport, patriotic, loving their country. What I can do for you is help you find a beautiful home, whether it's in one of the great, wonderful neighborhoods or out on the beach at Oak Island, 10 minutes away. Allow me to help you, because at the end of the day, whether it's 4th of July or not, we want you sitting on your front porch sipping sweet tea.